Jai Hind, Namaste, welcome back to Galp Taru, the Tree of Stories, which is a celebration of Indian folktales. My name is Ambalika and I'm an author and folklorist. And as we start this new year, January 2024, I'm going to take you on a trip to Terra Incognito. What? Arunachal Pradesh. That's what it says in the title of the video, right? Where did Terra Incognito come from? Well, that's what the British had been calling this region because at that time, during the time of the colonial rule, there was no Arunachal Pradesh. As a matter of fact, this piece of land nestled between Tibet in the north, Assam in the south, Nagaland to the southwest, Burma to the east, and Bhutan to the west, was mixed with certain other regions of the then state of Assam, and it was called by various tracts. It was sandwiched many times and called by different frontier tracts. And ultimately, it settled down to the Northeast Frontier Agency. You could call it as the counterpart of the Northwest Frontier Agency, through which Netaji escaped. So it was the counterpart to the Northwest Frontier Agency, and that's how it was. It was not easy to access, even for the British, actually, because you see, the tribal communities who lived in this region, they did not encourage unnecessary intrusions. And the British administration had this tendency that whenever they came to know about a new piece of undiscovered land, they would send in an expeditionary force. Mostly it was led by the political agent. In the case of this frontier agency, it was led in 1908 by the political agent of Hodia, falling in then state of Assam. And he went into this particular village, where he ran into one of the village chiefs by the name Matmor Jamuh. And Matmor, given the nature of hospitality of his tribe, the culture that they had, welcomed him and wanted to make a presentation of goodwill gesture. But Wilkinson, the political agent, took it otherwise. He had come in with expansionist ideas, and so he insulted Matmor Jamuh. And well, obviously, he did not take it lightly or easily. Things deteriorated super fast, and a fight broke out between the two, in which Matmor Jamuh was successful. Now, this wasn't just a spur of the moment fight where they got into punches and arm wrestling and arm twisting and stuff like that. This was a very carefully planned set of conspiracies and counter-conspiracies, and it lasted for years. It started from 1908 and went on to 1911, when Matmor was finally arrested along with his fellow conspirators, and they were tried by a military court in April of 1912. The sentence awarded to them was that of life transportation, and accordingly they were sent to the Cellular jail. When exactly Matmor died while being lodged at the jail is not known to any one of us, but that is exactly how the Adi community from the Northeast Frontier Agency gave to our country one of the earliest known freedom fighters. It wasn't until 20 January 1972 that the Northeast Frontier Agency was integrated with the Republic of India, and that too as a union territory. And at that time, it started to be known as Arunachal Pradesh. And it was only in 20 February 1987 that it got full-fledged statehood with Itanagar as the capital. Until then, the administrative affairs were taken care of from Shillong, the capital of Meghalaya. With more than 25 recorded major tribes, 110 sub-tribes, and many unrecorded tribes, Arunachal Pradesh is a delight for anthropologists because it is an ideal research hub. Given its geographical situation, Arunachal Pradesh was obviously not going to be a simple place to study the tribes. The obvious challenge was how to classify them and study their beliefs, practices, and rituals. Well, the anthropologists initially started by looking at their belief system, and then they found that a lot of them could be classified as followers of Buddhism, and the rest would come under non-Buddhist followers. And that was just about it, except for the community named Nokte, who follow Assamese Vaishnavism. But again, when they started looking deeper into it, they realized there is still more of variety. So this belief system is not really going to work as a good filter. What next? Language families. As was evident from its geographical location, there wasn't going to be a unique language family, there were hints of the existence of multiple language families, and ethno-linguists soon discovered what they were. 3. Sino-Tibetan, Tibeto-Burmese, and Indo-Aryan, with Indo-Aryan having the least impact influence, except for the Nokte tribe, which follows the Assamese Vaishnavism. Now, with more than 50 different tribal languages and dialects, how did tribes, or how do tribes still talk to each other? Well, it was going to be quite an unintelligible and a very difficult challenge to overcome, but they soon made a way out of it. Assamese became the most preferred language for interaction between communities. Alongside, even Hindi made an appearance. Now, the appearance of Hindi in the region is very interesting. Actually, it is very sad because the language did not show up until 1962, which is when the Chinese aggression happened and the Indian army started showing up. War is not exactly fun, but well, that's how history was at that point in time. And alongside, there were also a lot of traders, the trading community, the Marwadis, migrating to that region, and there were a lot of laborers also moving in. So that's how Hindi also became a window to connect with rest of India and with each other in the communities. Now, under the Tibeto-Burman language family, the tribes that came were Monpa, Mishimi, Sherdukpen, and the Tani group of people. Now, this Tani group of people are really very interesting because they actually are a group of different tribes who believe that they descended from a common ancestor named Abo Tani. That's why it's called Tani group. And the group of tribes that come under the Tani group are Nyishis, Adis, Galos, Tagins, Apatanis, and the Mishings of Assam. Now, there's something that I really need to highlight about the Nyishi community. To begin with, Nyishi means a civilized being. Nyi plus Shi. Together, it means a civilized being. And one of the core beliefs is that women are the source of peace, progress, and prosperity. And so their social system is based on a reciprocal marital exchange, which means that women are given equal importance and status, and men always consult their women folk or their women counterpart before they have to take an important decision or when they are trying to brainstorm something. Their eco values are also regarded to be feminine, which is why they have a lot of respect towards anything that has to do with nature. For instance, they do not believe that one can be greedy about taking stuff from nature. You do not take everything from nature. You only take how much you need, and the rest belongs to Mother Nature. So this, I think, is not just beautiful in a very poetic, lyrical sense, but it's also something that our world is grappling with today. So rest of India and the world can definitely learn from this tribe. And the best part is that under the Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat scheme, the government of Rajasthan has selected few Nyishi folktales written by Dr. Jamuna Bini to be included in their school curriculum. It has been taken from her book Uimok, which is a collection of Nyishi folktales. Now, Dr. Jamuna Bini has some really very interesting observations. I already told you that this region of the country has been in isolation and away from the impact of mainstream civilization for a long time. But when Dr. Jamuna Bini was doing her research in translations and collecting folk tales and doing an overall study, what she came across is that there are so many folk tales in Nyishi which also find resonance in other states of India. For instance, there is a Nyishi folk tale that gives reason why the color of the crow is black. And the same sentiment is reflected even in a Bhojpuri folk tale. And there is a belief that Nyishis regard tigers as their brothers, and so they are not hunted. And incidentally, even Sikkim believes the same. So Dr. Jamuna Bini feels that while there is a lot of diversity in these folk tales and in our culture, outwardly it appears to be so. When you dig down into beliefs and values, there is a lot of unity. So the inclusion of these folk tales from far away northeast India to the northwest of India is really very beautiful, and it only goes on to show how folk tales can unite a country and make it even stronger. Now, about the other language families, the tribes that belong to them, some of the examples are the Noptes, Singpos, and the Wanchos. And I'd like to highlight about the Wanchos because they have recently had great success in archiving some of their ancestral knowledge and folk culture. Now, the Wanchos live in the Patkai Hills that marks as a border of India with Myanmar. And when Terra, a researcher, met the Wancho community elders, she realized that the collective knowledge, the collective memories, the collective songs and stories that they have is actually an accumulation of all that they have been doing since ancient times. It's an accumulation of everything that their ancestors have been doing and passing it on to future generations. And so it is nothing but history of their history of cultural practices, knowledge of livelihood practices, their rituals, knowledge of plants, animals, climate, and geography. And this is fast disappearing. Now, if you remember in our episode on the Tulu language, we talked about the UNESCO having an atlas that documents languages that are on the verge of extinction, that are endangered, and stuff like that. So what is the antidote to that? So the antidote is PARADISEC, of which Terra is a part of. PARADISEC stands for Pacific and Regional Archives for Digital Sources in Endangered Culture. And this is actually a consortium of 3 universities, the Universities of Melbourne, Sydney, and the Australian National University. So they have gotten together and taken on the job of documenting this kind of community knowledge in the form of songs, stories, and any other oral format that may exist so that it's not lost for future generations. And some of the stories and rituals that she has been able to archive are memories of cultural rituals, death and the soul, and from the folk tales she has been able to work on Tidum and Cicada, Story of the Stone, and Story of the Gods, 2 versions, version 1 and 2. Well, looks like we're going to stay in Arunachal Pradesh for a really, very long time. There are so many folk tales to be told, and that sounds really, very exciting. Now, just so that you don't miss out on any one of them, go ahead, click that subscribe button and hit on the bell notification so that when the stories come live, you don't miss it. I'll see you soon in the first folk tale that comes out. It's titled Tapi the Alchemist. Now, well, it sounds fun, doesn't sound fun. Don't interpret right now. Go ahead, wait for the story to be out. I'll see you soon. Till then, Vande Mataram.